Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to make your own reflector oven. This oven requires little material that can be salvaged, a few basic hand tools, and little experience is needed. You can complete this oven in as little as 1 or 2 days. The reflector oven is great for baking beside a fire while camping, canoeing, or even in your backyard. These ovens were popular in the 17th to 19th century and can be used to bake breads, pastries, meats, or even pizza. The possibilities are endless. For this oven, I used a leftover piece of ductwork from a building project. You can also use sheet metal or aluminum. Begin laying out the large back panel first. The drawings are provided in a link below. Use a square, tape measure, and straight edge for your layouts. Continue with one side panel and the shelf support. Once the shelf support, back, and one side has been laid out, begin to cut them out. Use some tin snips and cut out all of your pieces. I suggest wearing gloves to help protect your hands. When you cut out the back panel, cut into the side an extra 1/4 of an inch so you can fold over the side edge later. This will leave a 1-inch square tab on each corner that you can fold out of the way to make your side cut. After cutting out the first side, use it to trace out the second side and cut it out. Now we are at my workstation to shape the oven parts. I wanted to do a double fold around all of the pieces so that there would be no sharp edges on the oven. To do this, measure and draw a line a 1/4 inch from the edge with a straight edge and a sharp tool. I used an old chisel. Once the line is scribed, clamp 2 scrap pieces of wood along the scribed line, leaving a 1/4 inch exposed. Hammer the tin so it begins to bend away from the scribed line. Don't bend the tin all the way in one shot. Work from side to side and bend the tin a little at a time. Once the tin is at 90 degrees, remove the wood and continue to hammer the tin down until it is flat with the face. On the side panels, you want to bend the front edge to one face and the other 3 edges to the opposite face. This will ensure that they are hidden later on in the oven. Here is the bottom, back, and top edge folded to the outside of the oven, and the front edge folded to the inside. Now scribe a line 3/4 of an inch from the front edge on the outside of the oven. Clamp the scrapped wood to both sides and hammer the tin to 90 degrees. Remove the wood and continue to hammer the tin flat in a sweeping motion from side to side. Scribe the top, back, and bottom lines 3/4 of an inch from the edge on the outside of the oven. Clamp the wood on one of the lines and hammer the tin to 90 degrees. Remove the wood and hammer the bend until you get a perfect 90-degree corner. Complete the 2 other sides. Once you've completed this side, repeat with the other. Your sides should look like this when complete. To shape the back panel, fold the 4 edges to the inside of the oven by a 1/4 inch. Scribe your lines, clamp on your wood, and hammer as you did with the side panel. Scribing your lines before folding or bending the tin helps it bend exactly where you need it, and it gives a nice clean edge after your fold. When folding your sides, ensure you do not fold the 1-inch tab at each of the corners. To build this reflector oven, I am using very basic hand tools that most people have lying around the house. I have never worked with sheet metal before, and I have very little experience in machining metal. This shows that anyone could complete this project if they put their time into it. If you had access to professional tools such as brakes, shears, and benders, these tasks would be a lot faster and easier to complete. After the edges are folded, mark out the remaining bends on the outside of the back panel, as per the drawings in the link below. Scribe a line 3/4 from each end and 2 more in the center, 11 1/8 of an inch away from the other scribed line. This will leave a 4-inch space in the middle of the back panel. Bend each end to approximately 90 degrees for now. We will be adjusting this angle later, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Then bend the center lines of the sheet metal by clamping on the wood. Using your hands and the hammer, tap it to approximately 90 degrees. This angle doesn't have to be perfect, as the sides will hold the piece at the proper angle. The finished back panel will look like this. Now we will shape the shelf support out of a 2.5-inch strip of sheet metal. Bend both of the long edges in by 1/4 of an inch on opposite faces. Then mark out 1/2 inch on one of the edges and fold it in so it hides the first 1/4 inch fold. You now have an 1.5 inch strip of sheet metal. Scribe down the center of the metal and bend this line to 90 degrees to finish the shelf support. Follow the diagram in the link below to match the folding pattern of the shelf. Use the hammer to make any final adjustments that are needed. Once the shelf is shaped, mark 2 lines 15 inches apart in the center of the piece on the edge with the double fold. You will cut through the double fold back to the bend. This is where the shelf will bend 90 degrees to turn in the corners. Using the sides, mark where you need to cut off the shelf support and cut your pieces to their finished length. Now that all the parts are shaped, mark where you will drill the holes in the side panels. Use a square to draw the lines for the shelf support so they are square with the back hole. Ensure that you have a right panel and a left panel. Use a center punch and mark the center of each hole so your drill does not drift away. Now drill all your holes with the appropriate sized bit for your rivets. Line up the shelf support with one of the back holes, clamp in place with a set of vice grips, and pre-drill a hole through the shelf support. Do the same with the other side. Then take your back panel, line up the side flush with the outside edge, and mark where the 2 back holes need to go. Mark with your center punch and drill these holes. Take your back and side panels, line up the hole, and rivet in the top hole through the back. Ensure that the pieces are tight before you rivet. Next, place a rivet in the bottom hole through the back and side panel. Put the shelf bracket on this rivet as well. Ensure they are tight and rivet. To line up the sides of the oven, bend the 1-inch tab of the back panel 90 degrees so that it tucks inside of the side panel. Push the right side tight against this panel and drill through the back panel. Rivet this hole and continue with the other holes on the side. Once the side is fully attached, line up the shelf, drill your holes, and rivet the shelf in place. Once your first side is done, continue on with the other side. Fold in the 1-inch tabs, line everything up, pre-drill your holes, and rivet your side in place. Use the vice grips to help hold things in place as you need it. Now we will bend the front edges until they are flush with the side. Tap with your hammer until they are in the appropriate place. Use a center punch to mark your holes. Drill through the sides and the 1-inch tabs and rivet them in place. Now the oven is fully assembled. We'll mark our holes on the top of where the handles will go, and we will drill the holes. If you would like to paint your barbecue, you can do it now using a high temperature paint like the one used for barbecues. I had chosen to make up a couple of stencils for mine, but you can paint the entire thing a solid color if you like. Once the paint is dry, install your handles and your oven is ready to go. I had made this oven to fit a 15 by 10.5 baking sheet for the shelf. You can adjust the sizes of the oven to accommodate different sizes cookie sheets. I use a cookie sheet because it is removable, so you can wash the cookie sheet, put your food directly on the cookie sheet, and also it makes more space inside for transporting. This oven works best beside a medium to large platform fire. A platform fire will give off more even heat than a teepee fire. You will want to set your oven close to the edge of the fire and prop the back edge up with a piece of wood. Check on your food regularly by moving the oven away from the fire so you do not get burned. A good pair of leather gloves are handy to have while baking at the fire. Rotate your food as needed so that the front edge doesn't get burned. You can adjust the oven closer to the fire as the fire dies, or farther away if you stock it up with wood. Cooking times will vary due to the variable temperatures and conditions. Most recipes will work in this reflector oven. This oven will expand your cuisine options while cooking on a fire, and it is a real pleasure to build and use. I have provided a link in the descriptions where you can find drawings, dimensions, and instructions on how to build this oven. I hope this video has inspired you to get outside and bake on an open fire. I'm Brian. Thanks for watching.